People who work at 5-star hotels, what type of shit goes on that management doesn't want people to know. We don't want you to know that the people who stayed in the room before you were ducking nasty. Housekeeping gets the brunt of it. I've seen them carry out bags of used sex toys, peel used condoms off of every surface, and scrub shit, actual human, presumably, shit, off places there's no reason for human shit to be. The worst, though, was the couple that wanted a home birth but not, at home, because gross. We had to deal with that hazmat situation. Fuck them as hard as we could with penalties and fees, though. The worst, though, was the couple that wanted a home birth but not, at home. Holy hell. The absolute audacity. Also, sorry, I don't want to bring my vulnerable new baby into the world in some disease-infested Vegas-style hotel suite that would look like a blender accident under a black light. Nah, I'm good. Home would be better, though, still not for me. Disease-infested Vegas hotel got us in this situation, it may as well get us out. A lot of lonely people going on vacation to end their life. Happens a lot but is never mentioned on the news. I've left the Do Not Disturb sign on the door all day because I wanted a quiet day alone, and around 4 p.m. housekeeping plus a manager came and knocked to do a welfare check for this exact reason. Note that I've spent a lot of time in hotels and have only had that happen once, but it makes sense, I guess. Oh, I'm very private and travel alone. My first thing is to stick the Do Not Disturb sign up. I was in and out, B&B, would have breakfast, talk with the staff and other guests, hit my festival, etc. I was super annoyed when I came back the 4th day to my room being cleaned and the sign ignored. It never occurred to me that maybe they were just checking up. In most states there is an actual law for this. They're required to check after the 3rd day almost always. Oh God, imagine being the person who has to check. Right, room 440 has had their DND sign up for 3 days straight, meaning there's a slight chance there's now a corpse in the room. Any takers? Chinese guy in the apartment across from me was cooking some fish dish that smelled so strong someone reported a body. I came home just as the police were taking position on either side of the door. They thought it smelled like a body, too, and could hear someone moving around in there, lol. Lots of prostitution and all the drama, legal trouble that goes along with it. Corporate functions like conventions, parties, etc. where there's an open bar almost always leads to something ducked up happening. One hotel I worked at hosted a Christmas party for an investment firm and 2 guys started jockeying for the affections of a female coworker. They all wound up on an elevator together and the guys started fighting, the elevator went into safety lockdown, we had to call the PT and then the FT. One guy went in a squad car, one guy went in an ambulance. We had to give the woman some clothes from Lost Found because her dress was covered in blood and the elevator was out of service for 6 hours to clean it up. There's always a ton of back of house drama, too. Especially among the execs and the junior managers. Affairs, backstabbing, a little light fraud. The usual. Yeah, I'd like 2 packs of light fraud please. Yeah, can I get a bottle of fraud light? I'm trying to cut back. I don't work in one anymore, but used to. This isn't really shenanigans, but the staff is not nearly so impressed by famous or rich people as some of them seem to think we should be. It was a fancy hotel. We had rich and famous guests all the time. And it was usually the ones nowhere near the top of the ladder who tried to be the most imperious and expected the most deference. If you have to try to convince us you're high status, you aren't. We'd provide polite, professional service for all our guests and try to be helpful and accommodating. But being a C-list actor or whatever isn't going to get you a table in a full restaurant or an upgrade to the already occupied fancier suites. And if there's a severe blizzard and the airport is closed, we can't open it for you because you're too special to have to wait to fly out. Even if you're a very important businessman. As part of our training as bellmen, we are to ask open-ended questions to the children to make sure they aren't being used for sex trafficking when bringing in luggage to dad and daughter types. My dad works in security in the same hotel, so he often gives me a heads up if the guest with the child is already under suspicion regarding their behavior at the front desk for check-in. It rarely happens, but hotels are the breeding grounds for sex traffickers. That's so sad to hear, but I'm glad to hear hotel staff at your place have training to look for signs of sex trafficking. Airline employees too. Back when I worked at the airport prior to COVID, it was a thing that we had to be on the lookout for. Us hairdressers in my state couldn't renew their license without taking a sex trafficking course. Worked in 5-star hotels in Beverly Hills. Boy, do I have stories. Sheik picks up a hooker in the bar, takes her to his room. She roofies him and steals tens of thousands of dollars of cash, watches and valuables. Husbands who will say hello to staff with their mistress on their arm on Thursday night and their wife on Friday night. Famous teen celebrity left a room full of needles and various drug paraphernalia behind for housekeeping to clean up. Middle Eastern royalty ships in multiple Ferraris and Lamborghinis to the hotel from their home country to drive for the week. Caught drag racing later that night by the cops in the neighborhoods of Beverly Hills. Largest checkout bill I've ever seen was roughly $2 million for a guest who rented out an entire floor of suites for 3 weeks. Promptly paid via wire transfer. Had to procure $100,000 cash for a guest whose wife wanted to shop on Rodeo Drive the next morning. The local bank doesn't even have that much. Had to get an armored car from the Central Law Bank branch to deliver. The list goes on. How exactly do you just get an armored car to come make a delivery? That seems like a lot of money to just be picking up and driving around impromptu. Or do you send the bill for the truck to the client who wanted the money? Depending on how much the client has invested, the bank will just eat the cost to keep them happy and business where it is. Edit, my most upvoted comment is a sensible one. Doesn't that break a rule? Yeah, if I were a banker I probably wouldn't nickel and dime a client who was able to make $100,000 cash withdrawals on a whim. What goes on the room next to you? This week we do evict and have arrested a couple for causing over $15,000 in damages to a room. This was done quietly late at night and the nearby rooms never found out. I can't think of a way I could casually cause $15,000 in damages in a night without being noisy. Were they doing it maliciously just to cause damage? They touched the mini fridge. Dead people. In some places there's a reasonable chance somebody has died in your bed. Obviously it varies with the type of hotel and its clientele. But some places you get deaths weekly. Not that the hotel is unsafe, but unfit old people overexerting themselves. One place I worked, maybe 40% of the beds had been died in. Bedbugs. They happen in every hotel. You might be paying $5,000 a night, but your luggage was in the hold with everyone else's. If there's only 1 or 2 bugs and none in the adjacent rooms, diamond style, so above, below, and both sides, then you brought them in. You know what I never saw happen? Maids stealing. Everyone always points at the maids when they lose stuff, but we always found it. No way the maids are risking their jobs over your used iPad or mall jewelry. With tips they make pretty decent money. Tip about bedbugs: when you arrive, never put your luggage on the bed. When you arrive, keep lights off, put luggage in bathroom, and then at the head of the mattress peel back the sheets and mattress pad. Bedbugs tend to congregate there, but scatter when there is light. If you find bedbugs, you can request another room. Or another hotel. Watching for signs of sex trafficking. Lots of cheating spouses there under fake names, and you can't confirm if they're there when the spouse calls. Pissed. Jacuzzi and swimming pool deaths, usually from alcohol. Guests expose themselves to female staff frequently, especially housekeepers and room service. People will legit give you keys to their rooms, sometimes dealing with really shitty organizations for their banquets income, etc. One cool thing is that you can buy pillows, mattresses, etc. from many hotel brands if you really enjoyed your sleep at a hotel. I used to work at a hotel when I was maybe 20 where this man came in with 2 young women, definitely teens, and never let them speak. They'd come back somewhat bruised. Then he started coming in with other men, and the girls, everything paid in cash. My manager said it happens. Leave it. A woman told me the next morning she thinks she was raped by the same men. She woke up naked in her room, beat up and with pain in her genitals after having drinks with them. Management again, leave it. She's crazy and was drunk, so I called the police and corporate and left that day. Detective called me a couple days later for a report and to come in and the man, as well as some customers of the man. Turns out the girls were underage and not from here is all I was told. Manager was investigated as a participant and fired. Thank you for what you did. I used to work events at hotels, and one time we had a guest break their wine glass inside a water refill barrel. I left work for 2 weeks to go on vacation, and when I came back, all the glass was still piled inside the water refill barrel. People must have been drinking out of it because there were events booked while I was gone. What is a water refill barrel and how would someone break a glass inside it?